I see everyone is here, so let's get this show on the road. Broadcasting live from 47-degree downtown Cleveland, it's station WDWL TV, home of not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I am your host, as usual, the grumpy old man, and our show is brought to you by Grumpy Vulture Productions, No Bow, and by popular demand, we have the return of the Grumpy Jackalope, and he won't be bowing either. So, how's everybody doing? And TV's here right on time. Okay, Ron, what's the word on the house? We're waiting in suspense. $62. Somebody's always gotta rub it in. No house yet. Okay. We'll be waiting in suspense. Keep looking. Keep offering. Oh, greedy bastards, huh? Okay, hey. It's not the only house on the market. Let's hope the sucker sits for about 6 months and they'll be like, God damn it, we should have taken Lynx Fur's offer. Well, it's 47 here. And up in God's country there, TV is at 42. I'm waiting for Ron to really rub it in with his Arizona temperature. Watch him come in and say it's 90. It's only 74. Well, it is winter in Arizona. So, TV. What is it like living up there in God's country's part of Michigan? Because I'll tell you what. I mean, Ohio's got some beautiful areas, but Michigan kicks our ass. They've got some real gorgeous areas up there. And you know, it's kind of like a best kept secret. People don't realize, they think like, Kentucky, not so much Kentucky, Tennessee, down in that area, the country is all gorgeous. And then you see some of the areas up there in Michigan, it's like, holy shit. How are they keeping that secret? Because when you say Michigan, people get the impression of, old rundown areas, smoky, old, auto factories. And there are some gorgeous areas up there. Absolutely. I've only been up there once. Many, 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 many years ago, I went to a NASCAR race. Otherwise, I always wanted to, I would love to get up there because I'd like to take a tour of the Henry Ford Museum. I really would like that. Not to mention, I'd like to go for a ride in an old Model T. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of pictures because I had a friend that used to go up there and fish, and every summer he would go fish in a different area, and he's kind of like an amateur photographer on top of it. Man, he'd come back with some photos. I forgot to turn on a light. I'm looking here going, God damn. I know the cranberries have been getting to me, but I'm blue. There we go. 100% better. Well, having a look at me, I wouldn't say that, but yeah, it's like, I agree, TV. It's like night and day. You see one side and you're like, nah. Then you see the other side and you're like, holy yatchapuck. And I forgot the model kit again. God damn it. Of course, I wrote my grocery list on the note, and then I threw the note away after I got my groceries today. So, tomorrow. I guarantee tomorrow. And every day I get an email, are you ready for the bulldozer? And then I get an email that the wrecker kit's back in stock. I was like, oh, God damn it. Yeah, the Peterbilt wrecker is back in stock. I really don't want to spend $51, but that kit disappears as fast as they get it in stock. Oh, yeah. And the other day when I pitched a bitch about them canceling the goddamn CT scan, and, I didn't get nothing, no notification. Today, I get 2 text messages, an email, and a phone call that the machine still broke down. I was like, huh? Well, there'd be one way of making me happy is somebody buy me the bulldozer kit and the Peterbilt wrecker. I hate ordering that truck because it's going to sit and it's going to sit, but it's gone in and out of stock 4 times. As soon as they get it in, it sells out because it's that popular. But, it's the middle of the month and I don't want to spend $51. The fucking Passat may break down again. So the CT scan is scheduled for next week, Thursday, which is going to piss my oncologist off because I have an appointment with him on Tuesday. And he's going to go, where's the scan? Now I'm going to tell him, waiting for me. The machine's been broke down. Of course, he'll give me this shit. We have a machine here. You could have come here. Yeah, I could have. But why should I drive all the way out to Parma and get my nerves all cranked out of shape when, it's 5 minutes away? Oh boy, Mardi Gras. My niece went 3 years in a row. And she would come home with about 500 pounds of beads. And my uncle didn't quite understand it. He was like, are you buying them? And she, no, they throw them at you. Well, they don't just throw them at anybody. They throw them at the females that display a certain pair of body parts. And my niece was well endowed. Needless to say, she would show them off and they'd be throwing hundreds of pounds of beads at her. We never did tell my uncle because, he'd have thrown a shit fit. Oh, yeah, she was a healthy young lady, Lynx fur. I knew why she had so many beads. And she kept telling me, don't tell Dad, don't tell Dad. I said, your secret is safe with me. Let me have some beads. She was like, oh, okay, here. And then I hung them on my rearview mirror, and I went through a very pricky suburb, Bedford Heights, and got pulled over and cited for, what the hell was that ticket? Something distraction. I can't remember how the ticket was worded, but supposedly the beads hanging on my rearview mirror were a distraction. Yeah, it was like, well, back in the day, it was like a $40 ticket. That was expensive. I never drove through Bedford Heights again. Yeah, Kathy, I found that out. And I knew he was pulling me over because the street I was going down, there were no cars except me. And he, come out of nowhere. Prick. Couldn't have given me a warning. He could have said, hey, take them off the mirror. No, had to write me a ticket. I even said to him, I says, making your quota? He said, well, I wouldn't push it. You know, I could do a safety check on your automobile. Yeah, I found out they could do that. Make you turn on, you know, headlights, high beams, turn signals, check the tread depth on your tires. I was like, yeah, give me the ticket. Asshole young rookie cop. Yeah, he said to me, he said, we can go up and you can pay it right now, or I can do a credit card, or you can mail it in. I said, I'll mail it in. Just give me my copy. Thank you, asswipe. Then he tells me, he said, I could take them beads away from you. I said, no, you can't. All you can do is have me take them off the rearview mirror. Asshole. Yeah, you know, TV was lecturing me. And, you know, I was like my late 20s. More of an asshole than I am now. And I just told him, cut with the lecture, just give me the ticket. Here. Then he gave me a rash of shit. He goes, that signature don't look like the signature on your driver's license. I said, then go back and rewrite it, and I'll sign it plainer for you. Here's your copy. I wanted to accidentally put it in reverse and back into his cruiser, but I was like, oh, I don't look good in silver bracelets. Oh my God. Holy shit. Oh, Jesus. They were out of Ocean Spray. And I have a generic. Northwood, Northland, North something. Jesus Christ, this stuff's like drinking gasoline. Wow. Holy Christ. Man, is that shit nasty. Okay, guys. Question. Do you call it a wallet or a billfold? Now, I call it a wallet. I got into a bit of a discussion today with a guy who told me it's a billfold. Well, yeah, it does fold the bills, but it's a wallet. When I bought it, on the box it said wallet. He said, it's really a billfold. What's the difference? Hey, oodles! Yeah, everybody's saying wallet. What's the difference? I have yet to go into a men's store and see one display that says billfolds and another display that says wallets. Yeah, this guy tells me I'm calling it wrong. I said, on the box, it said wallet. And I didn't see any billfolds. Everything in the showcase was wallet. And he was quite adamant. It's a billfold. I said, okay, you call yours billfold, I'll call mine wallet. You know, like on eBay, if you put in billfold, it comes up wallets. If you put in wallet, it comes up wallets. I'll show you something. I bought this off of eBay last week. Now, yes, it says baby monitor. I want to use it for the camera. I'm not monitoring a baby, but I am monitoring the house. Brand new, factory sealed. Neither the monitor or the camera will take a charge. I pulled out my voltmeter. I checked the charger for the monitor. I checked the charger for the camera. They were both putting out voltage. Brand new from the factory. Kaput. So I messaged the guy last night. And I says, I've had this on charge for 48 hours. It no work. Won't take a charge. Now, if I leave them plugged in, which it says not to do, they will operate. Because I tested it. As soon as I unplugged the chargers, this morning I had a 100% refund and a note. Kindly dispose of the defective merchandise. What I'm going to do, since I got the monitor and the camera for free now, I'm going to order the batteries because I think the batteries are shot. And if it works, then I have a free internal house security camera for free. I suspect there's some strange shit going on after I fall asleep. So, I'm going to strategically place the camera. And the nice thing is, it records on an SD card. So even though I would have the monitor on my nightstand, if Grumpy happens to luckily fall asleep, I can always pull the SD card out of the camera and view it. Yeah, I've just noticed something strange strange lately. When I get up in the morning and I'm like, that wasn't like that. Oh, TV, it don't work at all. I mean, yeah, it SD card, direct to the monitor, or Wi-Fi, but it has to have power. And I suspect that it probably sat in the warehouse for so long that the batteries are shot. So tomorrow, I am going to go and open it up and see what batteries it takes, and then I'll order new batteries. And if it don't work, didn't cost me anything, really. Yeah, I thought the guy would say, oh, you're doing something wrong. Nope. This morning, instantly, email. Full refund. Kindly dispose of defective unit. They don't want it. They don't want it back. Which kind of tells me, evidently, I'm not the only one that's had a defective unit. No, TV, it's technically, it's a baby monitor. I'm using it for a security camera. It would have been nice if it would have worked, but I got my money back, so. Because I fell for this shit on the internet, little tiny spy cam. The thing's about as big as 4 sugar cubes, And I bought one, and it didn't work for shit. Matter of fact, they're still advertising the damn thing. I was watching a YouTube video today, and there was the ad. Would have been nice if it would have worked. I couldn't get it to pair with my phone. Phones, period. Evidently, the goddamn things are made to pair with, iPhones, not Androids. No matter what I tried, it wouldn't pair up. Yeah, there's a, oh God, I can't think of the battery, the name of the outfit. I've got it saved in my my favorite sellers. There's an outfit on eBay that really has outstanding prices on batteries. I buy all my camera batteries and oddball batteries off this outfit. I can't remember the name. God, I just bought some batteries off them recently. Because they handle even obsolete battery, like my one DSLR camera. It's so old, the batteries are obsolete, but they carry them, and at an extremely reasonable price. And I have searched out just about every oddball battery that I would need, and they have them. Not to mention, the 18-volt Ryobi tool batteries. They're 50 to 60% less than if I was to go to the Homeless Depot and buy one. Because I like having multiple batteries. Because if you're working and a battery goes dead, you don't have time to recharge it. So I always have like 4 or 5 batteries, and as soon as one goes dead or goes down to 1 bar, I pop it in the charger, grab a fully charged one, because I have a shitload of 18-volt Ryobi tools. I probably have at least 60% of what they make. And there are, what I like is one battery fits all. And I'll tell you what, I was, when Ryobi first came out, I was a little leery of them. But I'll tell you what, they make some outstanding tools. They really do. I probably have, between drills and saws and what have you, there's a shitload out there in that living room. Not to mention my Ryobi lawnmower that is still brand new due to my lawn service. Would have been nice if I'd have had a snow service, but I'll let the idiot across the street cut my grass for free. I don't care. TV, I haven't even attempted to try connecting my phone to OBS. Because, a lot of this software is mainly written for iPhones. Because all these program writers seem to think that everyone owns an iPhone. Not grumpy. I started with an Android, and the day they toss me in the oven, I'll have an Android. I'm tired of hearing from my buddy and, his wife, oh, they're so easy to use. So's my Android. I want to make a call, I hit keypad, or I hit contacts. If I want to send a text message, I hit text message. Ain't that hard to use? If I want to gargle something, I open up Chrome. Or I just speak what I want. I hit the little microphone and I say, what's the difference between wallet and billfold? And then it tells me, which is something I didn't do. I mean, it was interesting. My grandfather always called it a billfold, and my father called it a wallet. All my uncles called it wallet. I guess billfold was something back in the 1800s. And the antibiotics are starting to work. It's no longer a fire. Now it's just a mild warmth. Of course, the goddamn antibiotic tablets are so big, you know. I have to plunge them down in the morning. Pop it in my mouth, grab the toilet plunger. Okay, it's down. I'll have to call that Keep It Flowing, and he can water jet it down in the morning. Man, I watched a video of his today. Oh, God. That guy has got to have no nostrils and a stomach made of cast iron, because, man, today, that video of an overflowing septic tank, and I mean, there was shit everywhere. The whole backyard, or as they call it, the back garden. That thing was belching shit. All right, TV, thanks for popping in, buddy. Enjoy the God's country part of Michigan. One day you'll have to pop us some photos. Yeah, I picked up a gorgeous pork loin wrapped in applewood bacon. I can't wait to pop that in the oven. Yeah, they had the it's pre-wrapped and pre-sauced and everything. Although they had just the plain pork loins for $4.99, and man, they were good size. I was going to pick a couple up, and then I was like, it's the middle of the month, go easy on the money. Because I could have popped them in the freezer and... So tomorrow, I have my garlic Hungarian sausage that I will be making in sauerkraut in the crock pot. And then I'll make the pork loin, maybe Wednesday, Thursday. You know, Oodles, I'm really giving up hope. I hate to say it, but she's been without her medication, which she needs. Now, I don't know how the FBI determined it because, they disabled the Ring doorbell cam. But they did say that even though it was her blood, that they found outside the door that she was alive when they took her, but I think she's somewhere out in the desert. I really do. I think she's somewhere out in the desert. You know, whoever abducted her, they immediately thought that the family was going to throw all kinds of money at them. Well, you don't get money until you produce a living person, and unfortunately, I don't think she's among the living anymore. Because she wasn't in the greatest of health. Which is sad. It really is. The assholes. Although, you know, since they did the search warrant on the one daughter's house, they've been very quiet about what they found. Very quiet. And then they did a search warrant on one of the neighbors' houses. And they let them people go. Yeah, if she still is alive, yeah, her time's running out, unfortunately. They didn't really say what kind of medical ailment she had, but they said that, you know, she really needs that medication. But me personally, my opinion, I think some of his friends are having lunch out in the desert. Because, you know, every year they find more and more bones out there. I mean, that there's certain areas of the desert out there that are just dumping grounds. Well, you know, Oodles, the sheriff, I think, is trying to make a name for himself. Although it's obvious that he isn't following, you know, the law enforcement code book. You know, from the beginning, he should have just turned that over to the FBI and stepped aside. Because he's in way over his head with this case. Is that Frank's territory? No, Frank don't work for that sheriff. Although I have been watching a lot of videos on Sheriff Lamb's YouTube channel. Then on Fridays, him and Frank get together and chow down. Oh, that's right. Frank is in Pinal County. God, you have P-now and P-ma. God, how confusing is that? Yeah, Oodles, you're right. After this mess, he needs to hang up his badge. Because he's in over his head. It should have immediately been turned over to the FBI, and he should have just stepped aside. But when they realized that it was Savannah Guthrie's mother, he was out there to make a name for himself. Salute, Kathy. Oh, God. Jesus. Oh, man. Whoa, that stuff's like drinking gasoline. Man, is that... I thought the other shit was nasty. You know where all the rotten cranberries went? To this generic company. Ocean Spray was like, here, you can have all this shit. Whoa. Oh, my God, is that stuff nasty? But I wasn't going to go for that cranberry blend. I got to stick with the unsweetened. And boy, yeah, this outfit got all the rotten cranberries from Ocean Spray. Ooh. That'll be keeping me up all night. Yeah. Yeah, links for these are the cranberries they scraped up off the bottom of the cranberry pit. Ooh, this one got mold on it. Okay, let's throw it over there. When my brother-in-law was a teenager, he used to round up the cranberries. When they would flood the cranberry fields and have a harvest, he would go out and help. Because he said it was amazing. They would flood the cranberry fields, and then they had this machine that would go in and it would shake the cranberry bushes. And then the cranberries all float to the top. And then they round them up. This outfit got the cranberries. After they drained the field, they scooped these up with a shovel and went, there we go. we'll sell them to the Brand X company. God, oh man, this shit is bad. Wow. Thank God I only bought one bottle. Tomorrow I'm going to go to another Mark store and get the regular crinkleberry juice. Oh. I'm going to drink this one quick. I'll be half asleep, get a little dry mouth, take a swig, I'll be wide awake. Oh, right, Kathy. I could use this to strip paint off the Passat. Man, is this shit nasty. Talk about Brand X. This is Brand XXX. It's Northwoods or North. I'll have to look at the bottle. North something. Northland, Northwoods. North of being drinkable. Oh, then today, oh man, I'll tell you what. Every parking space was taken up at the Indian store. So I pulled in and I was sitting at the edge of the parking lot waiting for somebody to leave. This guy backs out. And this Toyota van comes right off the street into the parking space. Well, then another car backed out, and I was able to get a parking space. And I come in the store looking for the guy. And they've got a back room that's all pure Indian food. And I went in the back of the store and I ripped that guy a new ass. I told him, I said, maybe you drive like that in India. You don't do that shit over here. I says, I'm tempted to, when I buy my cigarettes, to go out in the parking lot and flatten all four of your tires. He was afraid to come out of that back room. His wife kept looking. She was probably telling him, he's still at the register. Stay back here. He saw I was waiting for a parking space. And just... Oh, I scared the shit out of him because he was barely 5 foot tall. I went right back and backed him into a corner. I said, you saw me waiting for that space, and then you just pull in? I said, you might fucking drive like that goddamn India. You don't do that shit in the United States. I said, what do you do? Get your goddamn license at Walmart? I could see him thinking, don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me. Then I went up front and told the one brother. I says, when Scaredy Cat comes up to the register, tell him you don't do that shit in America. I've never been more tempted to goddamn stab somebody's sidewall. because he knew I was waiting for a parking space. He knew it. Pulls in right up the street. I was half tempted to bust the windows out of his Toyota van. I went right back in that corner. Gave him a goddamn piece of my mind. And he was trapped back there because there's one way in and one way out, and I was blocking it. And his wife kept saying something in Indian to him. Probably like, don't say nothing, he'll kill you back here. I was half tempted to grab him by his tie and pick him up off the floor. Ignorant son of a bitch. I hate when people do that kind of shit. But you know, nowadays, you gotta watch. I'll tell you, it's not like back in the day. You gotta watch what you're saying to people. I didn't give a shit. I was so pissed off. Because I just started to aim that way, and then him and his wife bailed out of the van and ran in the store. I started looking for him. I was like, where is that asshole? And I was like, oh, I got him cornered. He's back in the Magic Indian food room. He was probably looking for a magic carpet to escape on. Because I even told the one brother, I said, I'm half tempted to knife his tires. Oh, no make trouble, no make trouble. I said, well, tell him he started it. Almost as bad as the ignorant assholes that jam their goddamn carts in between the stanchions at the store. And then load their car and leave. Matter of fact, I had come from the Indian store to Mark's. And as I was walking up, this woman finished putting her shit in her car. She closed the hatch. And I said, you going to move your cart? Because she was tempted. She was going to get in the car and just drive away and leave it there. Oh, I was pissed off. Oh, man. Because when I come home, Mary Ann was out cleaning her car off. She was like, oh, it was only a parking space. I says, it's the principle of the thing. Yeah, it was only a parking space. I waited 30 seconds later, another car pulled out. It was the principle. People today are just so ignorant. In a big goddamn hurry. He could have waited. No. If I'd have been a couple seconds faster, I'd end up getting hit. That's what, because I would have zipped in front of him. I can't do that shit till I own that car. Still no news on it. Goddamn paperwork sitting on the judge's desk. What the hell's he waiting for? All he's got to do, put one signature on it. Sign it, hand it to his clerk. They go downstairs, file it, boom, done. Christ, I bought that car in September. Of course, they didn't realize the mistake until last month, but God. I can't sit around, waiting another 6-8 months for a goddamn car title. Because one of these days, Parma's going to get, I'm going to end up with one of them automatic license plate readers on a car, and then they'll be pulling me over, and that'll be it. I'll be walking home. Or in silver bracelets, one or the other. Although so far they have had not one person look at the house. Although I thought for sure maybe the real estate agent would have an open house on Sunday. Usually as soon as they put a listing up, they have an open house. Of course, as soon as somebody walks in the basement, looks in the garage, they're like, I'm out of here, see ya. Although I would like to get down that basement. From what I hear, he's got a brand spanking new DeWalt drill press down there that I would like to have. Because whoever buys the house, you can guarantee it'll go out in a dumpster. One of these days, I'm going to have to ask one of the brothers to give me some swear words in Indian. That'd surprise the shit out of somebody. Although I think he got every American swear word in his vocabulary today. If anything, he definitely knows what asshole means, because I must have called him that about 37 times. Oh, man, I'll tell you what. I was so tempted to come out of that store and stab a tire. Oops. Looks like you got a flat. Time to call AAA. Are you in here already? You pain in the ass. Not time to eat yet. God, getting earlier and earlier every night. The walking Billy. Pain in the ass. 5 after 8. Come on. Of course, he saw the fresh box of delectables. It's amazing how he knows what that box looks like. I took it out of the bag and his ears perked up. Oh! I said, no, calm down. You don't get any until tonight. Then I go in to put him away and he beats feet for the bedroom. Treats? Treats? No, you don't get treats. Jumps up on the bed and plays cutesy kitty. Sorry. No treats. Although, you probably can't see it. Let me see if I can bring it up. Holy shit. They have a pending deal on that house. Marianne just sent me a text message. Listed as pending. Wow. Let me answer her back. I found a neat little meme, a gif of a dancing boots. I think it's cute. Of course, my buddy's wife, she sends me 2 dancing cats. I bet you, some slum landlord is eyeballing that house. We've got a lot of them around here. Yeah, it's a shame. I would say probably 40% of the houses in this neighborhood are now owned by slum landlords. They just snap them up, rent them out, and then they don't do shit. Because somebody probably lowballed the shit out of that house. Because I know, he just wants to dump it and get rid of it. But it's amazing. house has only been listed for like a week and a half. Marianne said there's a pending sale on it already. Interesting. I guess if a dumpster gets stopped in the driveway, I'm going to have to go over there and dumpster dive. Because that basement is wall to wall. And it's all school shit. You know, old desks and books and anything to do with a school. Jim brought it home and stuck it in his basement. Yeah, it's almost as bad as my goddamn landlord. Probably has 5,000 old school books. They're obsolete, but he thinks maybe, you know, they'll be worth something. Yeah, he went to a couple of school auctions and bought up all the old school books. Like, if they weren't any good, the school would keep them. Oh, yeah, Kathy, dumpster diving, tree lawn shopping. I'm a big fan of that myself. I've gotten some remarkable stuff out of dumpsters. And I'll tell you what, I'm not proud. If I have to crawl in one, I crawl in. God, about 10 years ago, I got I got as a matter of fact, it's down the basement. It was a brand. I don't know what reason they threw it away. It's a Craftsman miter saw or chop saw, brand frickin' new. I brought it home. I plugged it in. Sitting in the dumpster. The only thing I can figure, evidently it must have been stolen, and whoever stole it got rid of it. An old grumpy dove in and grabbed it. Although I'll tell you what, there was one I wish I would have. When they remodeled the hotel up the street, it was, well, it's closed now. It was a Sheraton. And there were rolls and rolls and rolls of carpeting. And, you know, when they tear carpeting out of a room, this shit's like brand new. I don't know why it went from, it was a Hilton and then Sheraton bought it. So then, you know, Sheraton is going to decorate it like all their Sheratons. Because I had pulled in and there was a security guard. And I says to him, I says, is there any way of getting a roll or two of that carpeting? And he said, yeah, help yourself. I said, well, I got to go home and get my truck. And I never went, it slipped my mind. And then the next day, the dumpster was gone. But that goddamn dumpster was just full of rolls of carpet. And all right, it's commercial, but it would have been great to have, even for runners. But that saw, I've moved it from 3 houses. I've never used it. It's easier for me to come out with a circular saw and cut a 2x4 or something. But it's brand frickin' new. And I mean, it's a big Craftsman commercial. They call them either a chop saw or a miter saw. Yeah, I've got it wrapped in plastic. And like I say, I've moved it 3 different times and never used it. And it was just sitting. As a matter of fact, I had taken and I cleaned out the car. I was at the gas station, and it was the dumpster behind the gas station. And I drove around, and I had all the trash. I threw it in the dumpster, and then I went, what the hell is that? I crawled in. Holy shit. Got it out of the dumpster, balanced it on the edge, hopped out of the dumpster, opened the trunk, put it in the car, brought it home, plugged it in. I was like, who threw this out? And then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh, somebody stole this saw and decided I don't want to get caught with it and threw it in the dumpster. Old Grumpy will get caught with it. Yeah. FBI will show up here. Open up. You're in possession of a stolen chop saw. I found it in the dumpster, officer. Yeah, right. I should put it on Facebook. Facebook. Yeah, Facebook, mark my face. Because I'm never going to use it. Somebody could make use out of it. I'll have to do that. Put it on Faceplant, mark my face. Take a bunch of pictures. I've never sold anything on Market Space. I bought shit. Never sold anything. Although I guess there's a first time for everything. Yeah, I'll have to unwrap it and give it a good cleaning. And I mean, it doesn't even have any sawdust in it. I have a sneaking hunch that somebody stole it out of like an Ace Hardware, or for a while Lowe's was carrying Craftsman. I don't know if Homeless Depot had Craftsman at one time. Because I know Lowe's, they carry that Cobalt line of tools. Whatever. God, I've had it like 20 years. Never used it. Just keep moving that heavy piece of shit from house to house. Every now and then I plug it in just to make sure the motor's not seized up or anything. And okay, it works. Wrap it back up. But over the years, I've got some neat shit out of dumpsters. I'll tell you, the dumpsters to look in are the ones behind Goodwill stores. Because people drop off donations and then they look at them and go, nah, we ain't going to sell this. I got some pretty decent tools one day out of a Goodwill dumpster. And then when they discovered people were raiding the dumpster, they would chain it shut. Like, somebody donated it, you ain't going to sell it. What the hell you chaining the dumpster shut for? Your brother didn't want to help you out, huh? Really? You're not allowed to dumpster dive in Tennessee, huh? Which, it makes no sense. It's shit that's being thrown away. Like, in Cleveland, if anybody puts out, say, like a lawnmower on bulk pickup week, once it is, as a matter of fact, the way the law reads, once the owner takes their hands off of it, it's fair game. Because I've gotten some pretty, although I'll tell you what, after COVID, and then Cleveland had a hell of a bedbug scare right around COVID time. I don't trust anything on a tree lawn anymore. Man, I used to find good working vacuum cleaners and floor scrubbers and stuff. I'm afraid to bring any of that shit home anymore. Last summer, man, I'll tell you what, there was some beautiful antique furniture. There was a dresser, and then a chest of drawers, and then like a little nightstand. And the woodwork was just gorgeous. Beautiful inlay. And I really wanted to bring the dresser and the nightstand home. And first of all, it weighed about as much as a Sherman tank. And the more I thought about it, I was like, man, I'm going to bring home some vermin. I'm going to have the house fumigated. No. Nowadays, you don't know what is in somebody's house. I wouldn't trust anything anymore off a tree lawn unless it was like a lawnmower, maybe a snow thrower or something, or tools, but not anymore. Furniture? No, God, no. And man, a couple weeks ago, when I was on the way up to Mark's, there was a set of chairs from a dining room set. And they were really beautiful. And I stopped and I looked because I would have liked to have at least two of them. And I said, nope, 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 nope. Don't trust them. Don't trust them at all. You know, that was like when I was, apartment manager. And there was a house up the street that they had a shitload of furniture that was really nice on the tree lawn. And I had a tenant upstairs in the front of the building that him and his girlfriend were just getting together to go out on their own. And I happened to be downstairs on the sidewalk talking to a guy that came out of the bar. And him and his wife came down, and they were in their early 20s. And I heard her make a comment of, wow, let's go up the street and look at that furniture. And I told the two of them, don't you dare bring any of that stuff into this building. I said, you don't know why they threw it out. And she was like, oh, but look, it looks really nice. Well, they snuck it in. And it was full of bed bugs. And then she tried to blame me, saying the building was infested. So I said, there ain't no goddamn way. Because none of the other tenants had complained about bed bugs. So I went down to the bar and I asked the barmaid, I said, who do you use for an exterminator here in the bar? And she said, such and such company. Why do you need them? And I said, well, apartment 4 has got bed bugs. And she said, yeah, I know where they came from. They dragged some of that furniture from down the street. I saw them. So I waited until they both came home from work. And I went up. And I had them step in the hallway because there was no way I was stepping in that apartment. And I said, here's what's going to happen. I'm giving you back your security deposit and this month's rent. Get out. Well, you can't do that. I said, I told you not to bring any of that furniture in. And I says, I got witnesses that saw you bringing that furniture from down the street and carting it up into your apartment. I says, now take your bed bug ridden furniture and go find another place to live. And I gave them all their money. And I said, you got till the weekend. Get out. And they moved. And then I sealed that goddamn apartment door. And I called the exterminator. And I said, I ain't setting a foot in there. You do whatever you got to do. You make sure that apartment is free of anything. I don't even want to see a spider. And I don't know what they did. But 2 weeks later, they told me, we'll give you a written certificate that apartment is vermin free. And I said, all right, I'll tell you what. I want you to treat that apartment 2 more times. He said, well, there's no need. I said, I want you to treat that apartment 2 more times, and then I'm going to put it up for rent. And I can't remember what it cost me, because the building owner was like, get that apartment rented. Get that apartment rented. I says, I am not renting that apartment until I have a guarantee there's not even a spider in that apartment. And then basically, word filtered through the neighborhood that was why all that furniture was out there, because the one tenant it was a double, and the goddamn house was full of bed bugs. And I distinctly told them, don't bring any of that furniture. You don't know what. Yeah, well. Because she called the goddamn housing inspector. This apartment's got bed bugs. And when he showed up, I said, and they brought them in. He says, how do you know? I says, I got witnesses that saw them bringing furniture from up the street. And the housing inspector went, yeah, that's why it was out there. We inspected it. It was full of bed bugs. And then the housing inspector told them, you caused the problem. Because I told him, I said, when I come up here on Saturday, I don't want to see one item in this apartment. Don't you leave your bedbug chairs and couch here. Take it with you. Take them bugs to your new place. I don't even want to see them in our dumpster. Because I told him, I says, if I see it in the dumpster, I'm going to pay somebody to deliver it to your new apartment. Because there was a manufactured home. I don't know how the guy, it's been there for years, how he was managed to sneak this. They call it a prefab house, but it was basically a manufactured home up the street. And the whole house was infested with bed bugs. And I remember coming past one day, and they had these big giant, they had the whole place sealed. And then they had these big giant heating units because they said you got to get the house up to a certain temperature and it'll kill them. And man, these were big blowers. They were like, what the hell do they call them? Goddamn. They're kerosene-fired portable heating units. They use them in garages and repair shops. And these were huge. And they had the whole house sealed. And on the end of the house, these were two big, these burner units blowing hot air into that house. Because I stopped and I said, what are you guys doing? He said, well, we're raising the temperature in the house to, 200 degrees or something. He says, that's how you kill bed bugs. But the whole house was, they said it was just one big, huge infestation. I can't think what they call them. I had one. It ran on kerosene, and you plugged it in, and it had a big flame that blew out the end. I can't think of what they call it. And I had one. I had a small one. I used to heat my garage with it. The hell do they call them things? Yeah, portable heaters. Yeah, right. I can't think what they call them. Because the one I had, torpedo heater. But these were big torpedo heaters. It was like something that would heat up an airplane hangar. I don't know whatever happened to that torpedo heater. Man, that thing was handy. I had an exhaust fan in the corner of the garage, and then I would open the garage door and put the torpedo heater right at the entrance to the garage, pull the garage door down on top of the torpedo heater and plug it in, and man, within 20 minutes, I could work in my garage in a t-shirt and shorts. The ones that they were using up on that house, Kathy, they barely, the cone of the torpedo heater barely fit in a window. And then everything was sealed tight. And these torpedo heaters were just blowing all day into that manufactured house. Because I'd drive by every now and then. I'd be like, Jesus Christ, those suckers been going for 5 hours already. And the guy told me they had to get the house up to like 180 or 190 or something. But them torpedo heaters were just, and it was the middle of summer, just cranking. Because over the kitchen was a small skylight. And they had the skylight open to vent, and they were just blowing both of them units all day long. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't trust that place. I mean, they went in, they ripped up all the carpeting, ripped all the floor, the molding off the floors, and I still wouldn't trust that place. Because, in a way, I would have liked to have rented it. Because it's got a huge garage. It's a 2-car width. But basically it goes all the way to the lot line. So you could get 4 cars. And then it's got a loft. I would have rented it just for the garage. Because the guy that owned all the property lived across the street. He was a car collector. And he had 4 really nice, he had a 54 Cadillac. He had a 55 Mercury. It was like a Crown Vic. And then he had a beautiful Plymouth Belvedere station wagon that was like a 1960. And I can't remember what the 4th car was. Then when him and his wife passed away, his son sold them all cheap. And by the time I found out, I was really pissed off. Because I would love, as much as I'm not, a Chrysler Corporation, I would love to have that Belvedere station wagon. Because that thing only had like 5,000 miles on it. No, it wasn't a Grand Marquis. It was a 54, I just remembered, Mercury Monterey Sun Valley. Because it was like the Crown Victoria. It had, the front half of the roof was like green glass. Because the Crown Vic, the front half of the roof was tinted green glass, and then the back half was a normal roof. And it had a zip liner where you could zip the headliner shut so you didn't get roasted by the... But it was a Mercury Monterey Sun Valley. I remember it. Because I'd never heard of a Sun Valley. And he said, well, it's like a Crown Vic, but it's the Mercury. But the 4 cars he had, that Belvedere station wagon, oh, man. Had 5,000 original miles on it. Looked like it just rolled out of the showroom. The only problem is it was like an ugly tan color with a green and white interior. Oh, hideous. And then by the time I found out that they were for sale, they were all sold. The son just dumped them all. But he had what year was that Cadillac? Was like a 55 or 56 Cadillac Coupe de Ville, powder blue with a dark blue interior, with a dark blue roof, two-tone. Then he had the Mercury Sun Valley. He had the Belvedere station wagon. And what was the fourth car? Oh, it was a Packard Clipper. Flamingo pink and white Packard Clipper. I would have liked that one. That was a convertible. A flamingo pink and white Packard Clipper convertible. And he never drove them. All four just sat there. He'd open the garage and go in and dust them. I don't know if he ever started them. Sometime he'd sit in the garage and just look at them. Smoke a cigar. Sit in the back of the garage where the tool bench was. Just look at all four cars. I'd see him in the garage, ask him, any of them for sale? Nope. Have a nice day. Well, if you ever think of selling them, they're not for sale. Sit there smoking a cigar, just looking at the cars. Then they'd close the door, go back across the street. He did that like every day. He'd walk across the street, open the garage door, have the newspaper, cup of coffee, smoke his cigar, look at his cars. Oh my God, is that shit nasty. Blech, pooey. Blech. And with that, I think it's that time. I'm going to feed the wobbling belly and make me some hot Slovenian sausage. Got to finish them up before I make the kibasi and sauerkraut or the pork roast, pork loin. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. Been another fun night. And we will meet again tomorrow night right here at WDWL TV, home of not one but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And tomorrow again, we will be visited by the Grumpy Jackalope. And screw him. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Take care. And we will see you tomorrow night. And we will have the 2 obligatory see-yas courtesy of OBS. See ya 1. Take 2. See ya 1. And see ya 2.